And then notice finally that I have some other groupings. So Germanic and Italic are not the only sub-branches of Indo-European. There are also lots of Celtic languages like Irish and Welsh, for example, and those all go back to they're similar to each other, and they go back to a Proto-Celtic language. When you read Bryson will talk quite a bit about Celts and Celtic languages, so you'll find more detail about them. And then there was also a group of Indo-Europeans who obviously came into Greece and settled there, and they developed a set of Greek dialects. And all the Greek languages that we know today must go back to this Proto-Hellenic language that developed among this group of Indo-Europeans. And then also there was a group of Indo-Europeans who settled in more Eastern Europe and developed their own language. And so then all the Slavic languages like Russian and Bulgarian and Polish that come from all of those languages that we call Slavic languages, must go back to a proto-language that was, again, came from this or developed within this branch of the Indo-Europeans who settled there. And then finally, we talk about Proto-Indo-Iranian, or you could have a Proto-Indic and a Proto-Iranian. It's a complicated story, but in any case, even farther east, there were groups of Indo-Europeans who settled farther to the east, and from them came languages like Farsi or Persian, and Sanskrit, the ancient classical Indian language, and then the Indian dialects which are spoken today. So one thing that you should try to do is make sure that you understand this structure here, what I'm talking about, where we have the ancestor language and then the original Indo-Europeans, when they broke into groups, each group developed their own kind of dialect or dialects, and then from that we can refer to as a kind of a sub-branch. And then from each sub-branch, we can see that there are many modern languages that kind of branched off from them, that developed from them. And so one thing you should be able to do is be able to identify, okay, which languages belong in which modern languages that we know today belong under which branch of Proto-Indo-European. And then finally, I just want to point out here at the bottom a kind of interesting question. Notice that I have the sub-branches arranged in rough geographic order from west to east. And well, I've really already kind of answered this question. The reason why the Germanic languages are towards the west and the Italic languages are more towards Southern Europe, Germanic, Western and Northern Europe, Italic, Southern Europe. The Celtic languages are kind of at the fringes of things, and where the Greeks and the more Eastern languages are. This all is because this just explains where the Indo-European peoples went, where the different groups of them went, where they spread in their wanderings, and so it kind of explains that's the story that we tell then to try to explain why are all these languages in all these places related to each other so closely, and whereas there are very few languages in these areas that are not part of this family. And then notice this last little point here is notice that when you compare words and reconstruct these original parts of Indo-European vocabulary, then you can also actually learn things about their history, their culture, their mythology, their society, their ideas, right? Because if there are certain terms that are shared among all the Indo-European families, if there's certain terms about, say, kinship structure or the family, or about certain gods like Zeus, say, then that indicates that, well, the Indo-Europeans must have had those ideas already, or something similar, some kind of similar structures of society and culture and thought, and even literature. So that's another kind of fascinating side to Indo-European study. Okay, so I hope this has helped to explain this outline and explain what Indo-European is. And notice that we're locating English right here in the in the Germanic branch of Indo-European, right? So it's a different branch from Greek and from Latin. But of course, what we're learning in this class is that the English language over here in the Germanic branch borrowed thousands and thousands of words from Latin and Greek at kind of a later time in its history. So our next step is going to be to try to see where English, to talk about this Germanic branch and to see kind of how English fits into this Germanic branch itself. Okay, bye-bye.